When most people read the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew, they walk away with a specific mental image. Turning the other cheek sounds like a command to submit, to absorb abuse quietly, and to act as a willing doormat. This creates a tension when we look at verse 17. Jesus explicitly states that he has come to fulfill the Jewish law, but he then immediately describes actions that seem to ignore its established legal protections, such as the right to extract an eye for an eye. To understand why he would say this, we have to look at the people standing on that hillside. These were impoverished, marginalized Jewish peasants living under a strict Roman military occupation. In their world, they had no legal recourse and no military power. In that context, Jesus is offering a specific method of survival. He is outlining a strategy of nonviolent resistance designed to strip occupying forces of their social power without giving them a legal reason to retaliate. Understanding this strategy requires looking past the familiar religious phrasing. For the first-century listener, these specific teachings served as tactical instructions for reclaiming human dignity when every other system was stacked against them. The mechanics of this strategy become clear when we look at the command to turn the other cheek. In Matthew 5:39, Jesus specifically mentions being struck on the right cheek. That detail is the key. In the ancient world, physical strikes were delivered with the right hand. For a right-handed person to strike you on your right cheek, they had to use a backhand slap. This was a specific gesture used exclusively to humiliate a social inferior. Geometrically, the only way a right hand can strike a right cheek is a backhand. But turning to offer the left cheek invalidates this arc. Striking the left cheek requires a closed fist, a punch reserved only for social equals. By turning the head, the victim refuses to be humiliated. They force a social checkmate. The attacker must either back down or punch them as a peer, acknowledging the victim's absolute equality. Jesus uses a similar tactic regarding the debtor's court. In Matthew 5:40, he says that if a wealthy creditor sues a poor person for their inner garment, the tunic, the debtor should hand over their outer cloak as well. To a modern listener, this looks like surrender. But in ancient Jewish culture, the deep social shame of public nakedness did not fall on the person who was stripped. The shame fell directly on the person who caused it or viewed it. If a debtor hands over their final piece of clothing and stands naked in a public court, the dynamic flips. The entire community is forced to look accusingly at the wealthy creditor, holding a pile of clothes, as the source of a severe cultural violation. This action weaponizes the creditor's own greed against them. It takes the public shame of poverty and reflects it back onto the systemic ruthlessness of the elite. The third tactic is the origin of a phrase we still use today, going the extra mile. This refers to the Roman military practice of impressment. By law, any occupying Roman soldier could force a civilian to carry their heavy military pack along the road. This military law had a rigid limitation, exactly 1 Roman mile. If the marker crosses that strict boundary, the soldier commits an infraction. Liability transfers immediately, exposing the soldier to severe punishments like flogging or demotion. Imagine the confusion this caused. Reaching the 1 mile mark, instead of dropping the pack, they cheerfully keep marching. The civilian has seized control. Doing more than the soldier demands creates a legal crisis for the oppressor. The powerful soldier is left following a peasant down the road, begging for their own pack back to avoid a court-martial. These tactics were written for a population that was mourning and marginalized. They needed a way to resist that wouldn't lead to the mass violence of a failed rebellion. Jesus fulfills the law. The Greek plero means filling something to its absolute limit. Rules like an eye for an eye were damage control boundaries. Radical nonviolence breaks the retaliation cycle, expanding the law's intent to target reconciliation and restore human dignity. The Sermon on the Mount is not a mandate for passive victimhood. It is an active pursuit of justice that proves true righteousness is found in the creative, aggressive work of defeating oppression through love.